Bruce Lee was coaching when Bob Wall, a karate instructor, boasted he was sharper and then. Bruce Lee was coaching when Bob Wall, a karate instructor, boasted he was sharper, and then the dojo exploded. The air in the Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute was thick with the scent of sweat and leather, the rhythmic thwack of focus mitts punctuating Bruce Lee's instructions. He moved like liquid, precise, effortless, demonstrating a trapping sequence to a student when the door swung open with a bang. Bob Wall, a broad-shouldered karate instructor with a reputation for brute force, strode in like he owned the place. His GI was immaculate, his belt cinched tight, and his smirk was sharper than the edge of his tongue. "Heard this was the place to be if you wanted to learn real fighting," Wall said, crossing his arms. "But from what I've seen, all you're teaching is fancy footwork. Karate's got the real power, his speed, precision, impact." Bruce didn't stop moving. He adjusted the mitts on his student's hands, his voice calm but carrying. "Power without control is just noise. Speed without purpose is wasted energy." Wall scoffed. "Control? Purpose? Sounds like excuses for guys who can't take a hit." He turned to the students gathered around. "You ever seen a real fight? Not this dancing you do here. I'll show you what sharp looks like." The dojo went still. Even the dust seemed to hold its breath. Bruce exhaled through his nose, then turned fully to face Wall. "You want to demonstrate?" Wall grinned. "I thought you'd never ask." The students cleared the mats in seconds. No one needed to be told this wasn't a sparring match. This was a statement. Wall took his stance, fists raised, knees bent low in a classic karate kibadachi. Bruce stood loose, hands open, weight balanced on the balls of his feet. The difference was immediate. Wall was a fortress, Bruce was a storm waiting to break. Wall struck first, a lightning-fast gakuzuki, a reverse punch aimed at Bruce's ribs. Bruce twisted just enough to let the blow skim past, then snap, his lead hand shot out, fingers stiff, and tapped Wall's solar plexus. Not hard. Just enough to disrupt his breath. Wall staggered back, eyes widening. Lucky shot. Bruce didn't smile. Again. This time, Wall came in with a flurry, a Meijeri kick to the gut, followed by a spinning backfist. Bruce deflected the kick with a downward parry, then slipped the backfist, his own counter striking Wall's floating ribs before the man could reset. The impact sent Wall stumbling into a stack of focus mitts, which clattered to the floor. "You're fast," Wall growled, wiping sweat from his brow. "But speed don't mean shit if you can't finish." Bruce tilted his head. "You think I haven't finished you?" Wall's face darkened. He charged. What followed wasn't a fight. It was a lesson. Wall threw a haymaker. Bruce ducked, his elbow rising to meet Wall's bicep, numbing the arm. Wall switched stances, firing a low kick. Bruce checked it with his shin, then stepped through, his palm striking Wall's chest like a piston. The karateka's breath left him in a whoosh. Wall tried to clinch, grappling for control. Bruce flowed, trapping Wall's arm, twisting his wrist just enough to make him gasp, then sweeping his leg out from under him. Wall hit the mat hard, the wind knocked out of him. For a moment, there was silence. Then Bruce offered a hand. Wall stared at it, chest heaving. The dojo held its breath. After a long second, Wall took the hand and let Bruce pull him up. "You're good," Wall admitted, rubbing his ribs. "Better than good. But I still think karate's got the edge in a real fight." Bruce wiped sweat from his brow with the back of his wrist. "Then you haven't been fighting. You've been performing." Wall opened his mouth to argue, but Bruce cut him off with a raised hand. "Come back tomorrow. Bring your best. And this time, don't hold back." Wall studied him, then gave a sharp nod. "Deal." As the karate instructor left, the students erupted into murmurs. Bruce ignored them, turning back to his training. The lesson wasn't over. And neither, it seemed, was the conversation. 3 weeks later. The rematch wasn't in the dojo. It was in a back alley behind a Chinatown restaurant, under the flickering glow of a single street lamp. Wall had insisted on real conditions, no rules, no mats, no witnesses. Just two men and the truth. Bruce arrived first, rolling his shoulders to loosen them. Wall was already there, his GI sleeves rolled up, his knuckles wrapped in tape. No gloves? Bruce asked. Wall spat to the side. Gloves are for pussies. Bruce nodded. Fair enough. This time, Wall didn't waste time with words. He came in low, feinting a kick before driving a knee toward Bruce's midsection. Bruce pivoted, letting the knee graze his hip, then snapped his own knee up into Wall's thigh. Wall grunted but didn't slow, countering with a hook that Bruce barely slipped. The fight was uglier this time. No form, no flourishes. Just raw, desperate exchanges, elbows, knees, grappling in the dirt. Wall was stronger, his strikes landing with bone-jarring force. But Bruce was faster, his counters precise, his footwork unshakable. At one point, Wall managed to trap Bruce against the alley wall, his forearm pressed against Bruce's throat. Yield, he growled. Bruce grinned. Then he twisted, breaking the hold, and drove his palm into Wall's sternum. Wall staggered back, gasping. You don't yield, Bruce said. You adapt. Wall wiped blood from his lip. One more round. Bruce shook his head. No. We're done. Scared? Bruce stepped closer, his voice low. I'm not the one who's been fighting the same way for 20 years. You want to be sharp? Stop looking for the perfect technique. The fight doesn't care about your style. Wall exhaled, his shoulders slumping. For the first time, the arrogance was gone. Then what's the answer? Bruce clapped him on the shoulder. Come to the dojo tomorrow. And this time, listen. Wall stared at him for a long moment. Then, slowly, he nodded. Epilogue. 6 months later, Bob Wall stood in the center of the Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute, now wearing a Jeet Kune Do patch on his GI. He wasn't the same fighter he'd been before, his stance was looser, his strikes more fluid, his mind open to possibilities instead of dogma. Bruce watched from the sidelines as Wall worked with a new student, correcting their footwork with a patience he'd never shown before. You were right, Wall said, joining Bruce by the water cooler. I was sharp. But sharp's not enough. Bruce took a sip of water. Sharp is just the beginning. Wall smirked. Yeah. I'm starting to see that. Outside, the neon signs of Chinatown flickered to life. The dojo's doors were open, and the sound of training filled the night. Somewhere, a new challenge was waiting. But for now, the fight was over. And the learning had just begun. O Despota do Dragao. Os Mises Seguintes Forum de Transformação Silenciosa. O Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute Se Tornu Feral para Lutadores que Buscavam Mais do que Técnicas, Procuravam uma Filosofia. Wall, agora instrutor-chefe, Neo ensinava apenas golpes, ensinava a respirar entre eles, a sentir o ritmo do oponente como uma dança, Neo como uma batalha. Bruce observava, satisfido, mas algo o inquietava. Neo era apenas a evoluco de Wall que o preocupava, mas o que ela representava, espelho de sua própria jornada. Uma noite, enquanto fechava as portas do dojo, Bruce encontrou envelope deslizado por baixo de porta. Dentro, convite escrito a mão papel de arroz, com caracteres que ele reconheceu imediatamente, Shaolin. Neo era desafio comum. Era chamado. O discípulo que Neo testa sua lâmina contra a montanha nunca saberá se ela é afiada. Assinado, Mestre Liang, do Templo do Punho Esquecido. The temple was located in the mountains of Hong Kong, hidden among mists that never dissipated. Bruce arrived at dawn, alone. There was no audience, no spotlights, just damp rocks and the sound of wind chimes. Liang, an old man with eyes as clear as ice, was waiting for him in the central courtyard. You brought your style, but not your heart, Liang said, without preamble. Jeet Kune Do is not a collection of moves. It is the void between them. Bruce didn't respond. I knew words wouldn't be enough. The first test was simple. Liang attacked with a roundhouse kick, quick as a whip. Bruce dodged, but the old man spun in the air and hit his shoulder with his elbow. The pain was sharp, but what surprised him was the intention behind the blow. It was not to hurt, but to teach. You still think about winning. I want you to think about surviving. The days turned into weeks. Liang forced him to fight without techniques, just instinct. On one occasion, Bruce was thrown into an icy river and had to climb the bank using only his fingers. In another, he was locked in a dark room with an opponent he couldn't see, only hear. When he finally faced Liang again, there was no anger, no pride, just the clarity that every move was a question and every answer, a lesson. On the last day, Liang handed him a wooden sword. Now you understand. True Jeet Kune Do is not a style. It is a state of being. Bruce held the sword. It wasn't a weapon. It was a mirror. Back in Oakland, the dojo was different. Wall had expanded the classes, bringing in not just wrestlers but artists, musicians, even an old Chinese poet who taught students how to write with their body. Bruce smiled. It wasn't about him anymore. It was about what the movement could be. But the world wasn't ready to leave Bruce alone. A telegram arrived one afternoon, delivered by a sweaty courier. Wang Jackman challenges you. Not out of pride. Out of truth. Accept, or your art will die with you. Wall read over Bruce's shoulder. You are going? Bruce folded the paper. No. But he will come. And it came. Wang Jackman arrived at the dojo at dusk, accompanied by 2 disciples. There were no words of provocation, just a respectful nod. Bruce knew him, a master of Tai Chi Chuan and Xing Yi Quan, known for his surgical precision. The challenge was not about strength, but about essence. They fought in the center of the mat, under the yellow light of the lamps. Wang was fluid, almost ethereal, dodging Bruce's attacks as if they were a breeze. Bruce, for his part, didn't try to hit him, he just existed in the space between them, letting Wang find his own holes. In the end, there was no winner. Wang backed away, sweating, and tilted his head. You no longer fight like a man. You fight like the wind. Bruce returned the bow. And you no longer fight like a master. You fight like a student. Wang smiled for the first time. Then perhaps there is hope for both of us. The years passed. The Jun Fan Gung Fu Institute became something greater than Bruce had imagined, a place where the martial art was not just about combat, but about freedom. He traveled, taught, learned. He found masters who challenged him, students who surpassed him, and, at some point, he realized that he no longer needed to prove anything. One peaceful morning, as he watched the sun rise over Hong Kong Bay, Bruce felt the weight of years. Not from tiredness, but from fullness. He had started out as a fighter. He had become a teacher. And, in the end, he discovered that the biggest struggle was always with himself. His last student was a 10-year-old girl with bright eyes and scraped knees. She came to him because she wanted to learn how to defend herself, but Bruce taught her something else, that true strength wasn't in breaking bones, but in knowing when it wasn't necessary. Jeet Kune Do is not about winning, he said, as he adjusted her posture. It's about not being defeated. The girl nodded, seriously. Then I will never be defeated. Bruce laughed. Nobody ever is. They just learn. And so, under the same sky that had seen so many beginnings, Bruce Lee's story came to an end. But the fight, this one, would never end.